Hello everyone, it's been a long time coming, but we are back on Red Devil Weekly. My name of course is Kieran, if you have forgotten or if you haven't been here already, and welcome to United's preview against Leicester, the preview of United's game against Leicester I should say. I'm already stumbling, as I said, this stream will probably be littered with mistakes and things like that because I haven't done it for a while. I'm a little bit rusty, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit rusty, but I just thought, why not chat to you guys? It's coming up to Easter, so I had a spare evening. I thought, you know what, I haven't done one of these in a while, so I may as well vent about what's been going on at Manchester United. And to be honest with you, since I've been away, there hasn't been very many positives to talk about. Knocked out, of course, of the Champions League against Atletico Madrid in a second leg display, which was absolutely atrocious. And just in general in the league, we've taken a downturn in results, obviously being beaten in the derby, drew 0-0 with Watford. A splattering of results that I'm so glad I didn't really cover on this channel because honestly, those sort of streams would have been so negative. I did watch content, but I just didn't want to produce any of my own because you know what, it just wasn't worth it, to be honest with you. But we are back to preview this. Why not get on the stream and kind of talk to any of you guys that are still out there. I totally understand. I've been away for what, like 2-3 months now, so hopefully this is the return of semi-regular content. I have been appearing on other channels as well, as usual, appearing on Rich's channel. Make sure you do check out Rich Sports as well if you haven't already. But I've been appearing on some other channels as well. But on this channel, I need to step up my game. I need to do more content. Now, obviously, with the run into the end of my time at university, I'm in third year now, so there are going to be more modules and more exams and stuff to do. So that's going to make it more difficult. But I guess hopefully after I've completed university, I will have a little bit more time on my hands, at least for the time being. But once we get past all that boring stuff, there's no point talking about that because most of it is meaningless to you guys. You want to know about my thoughts on United's game coming up against Leicester. After the international break, obviously a lot of United players have been involved in the international break. Harry Maguire, of course, probably the biggest story, the boos and all the reaction and the fallout from it. And we can talk about that in today's stream as well. But as I said, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new around here. You guys know the drill. I'm just going to be kind of waffling really, giving my thoughts. And to me, as I've said, we're going to get straight into it now. I think this is a must-win game. And I think you could probably say that for every Premier League game we have until now, and up until now, and to the end of the season, to be honest with you, because right now we are chasing. We are part of the chasing pack. We were in fourth place for a few game weeks, but Arsenal have caught up. They have some difficult, games in hand, but they are still 4 points ahead of us, and they have a game in hand over us. So if they win that game in hand, they could go 7 points clear, which is something that a lot of United fans is scared about. I'm not going to lie. I mean, if Arsenal were to get Champions League football and we didn't, it's one of those things. It's just one of those times where you just don't look at social media, or at least you don't look at football social media. You just go and enjoy your summer because Arsenal are going to be absolutely unbearable about that. But there's a chance. We've still got a chance. We've still got 9 or 10 Premier League games left. I think 9 Premier League games left for us, which means 27 points still up for grabs if we win every single game. Of course, that's not going to happen, but still, we could potentially finish on 77 points, which probably would be enough to get us top 4. As I said, the likelihood of that happening is close to 0. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a really tough end to the season, and we need to basically win pretty well every single game we have to the end of the season, or at least not lose. And it's going to be tough. And starting with this game after the international break against Leicester is going to be very, very difficult indeed. Leicester aren't doing too badly. I mean, they are in 10th in the Premier League, and probably at the start of the season, people would have expected them to be a little bit higher at this stage. But we are used to seeing Leicester, be in a good position and then bottle it towards the end. Maybe they'll have a good end to the season. Maybe we'll see them, push for those Europa League spots. Although with Wolves being 10 points clear of Leicester, even though they've got 3 games in hand, it's a tall order. But yeah, they haven't been having the best of seasons by their standards, and probably with the squad they've got, as I said, we probably expect Leicester to be doing better. But by no means are they an easy game. By no means, just because they're not having the better seasons, are we gonna turn up to Old Trafford and skin them? Because it didn't happen at Leicester. We obviously lost 4-2, and that was only really because Rashford came on and scored a goal in the second half that made it a little bit more, or a little bit less embarrassing. So yeah, really that game was a bit of a demolition from Leicester. And I think, at Old Trafford we have been struggling, especially against sides that, we'd be favourites to beat. And I think, after being knocked out of the Champions League, this is the only competition we have to focus on, and that's the one thing that hopefully it works in our favour. But in the end of the day, it's going to be a very, very tough road, and the only thing we can do is win our games. We have to focus on our lane in the end of the day. Ricky and RB Comps, thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. Make sure you do check out RB Comps. Brilliant stuff on his channel. He's just getting better and better with each upload. So please do check out RB Comps' compilations. Brilliant stuff over there. If you love that sort of thing, even if you're not a Juventus fan, even if you're just a general football fan, brilliant stuff over there. So make sure you do check that out. And Ricky, Europa League, I know, mate. I know. It's looking like it, and it's looking like it with every passing game, the chance of Champions League is slipping away. And if we lose this game, I really am completely of the opinion that we won't get Champions League football. I think there's a lot of United fans that have turned already, and I completely understand that. I think, realistically, it's, the situation with Arsenal being 4 points clear with a game in hand, with only 9 games left to play, the cards are stacked against us, and the odds are stacked against us. But for me, I think this Leicester game is the last straw. I think we can still potentially go on a little bit of a run, or at least, go on a decent win streak towards the end of the season. But realistically, we're going to have to rely on Arsenal and Spurs slipping up, and having to rely on other teams is always a risky game. So I completely understand where Man United fans' heads are at in terms of negativity. I completely understand that, but you just got to hope, and you just got to keep fighting, keep battling. Leicester's previous results, let's have a look at them. They come into this game off the back of a 2-1 win over Brentford. By all accounts, it was a pretty convincing win, I'd say, from Leicester. But Brentford have actually put up a decent fight in this year's Premier League. Obviously, before that, they lost to Rennes and they lost to Arsenal. But did beat Leeds and beat Burnley. And so they're up and down, really. They're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. You don't really know what team's going to turn up, but certainly they've got players in that 11 that will really cause us problems. And as I said, I'm not looking forward to the game just because I feel like, Leicester are a team that will be smelling blood, especially with our last few results and just the way we've been playing at the moment. And Old Trafford has been our kryptonite sometimes this season, where we have put in really poor performances and we've come away with draws and even losses. I mean, the Aston Villa one sticks in my mind, where we were utterly toothless for the whole 90 minutes, and then the 89th minute, Courtney Hause scores a innocuous header from a corner. That's the sort of thing that could easily happen. And unfortunately, when you're in this position that we're on such thin ice that anything can happen. Anything can happen. I think Leicester are going to pose a very, very difficult threat, or a very big threat. I think James Maddison is the form player at the moment. I think he's been brilliant for Leicester. I mean, the free kick he scored against Brentford, the free kick he scored was absolutely sublime. But he's someone who, he doesn't. I was going to say he shows up in the big games, but I don't really think that applies to him. But I think, realistically, Leicester are a team that always give us a good game, and I think they're going to give us another good game, especially because their threat on the counter-attack is a lot. They've got a huge threat on the counter-attack, and we're a team that really hates to have to be on the front foot, and it seems weird being a team, like Manchester United, saying that we have to be on the back. We don't like being on the front foot, but realistically, we find it very difficult to break teams down. And essentially that's what we're going to have to do against Leicester. They know that they're going to be a lot more threatening if they sit in and counter-attack, and especially with Vardy, Man, these guys, it's going to be very, very difficult to contend against them. So yeah, Ricky says Bruno missed the penalty in that Villa game too. He did miss a penalty, to be fair, he did. Yeah, that was a game that I don't know why I brought up, to be honest, because it's not a game that you want to remember. I don't know why I brought up. And Owen says, hey lads, reckon Maguire scores after all this England stuff this week? You're probably right, and there's a first time for everything, really. Obviously the former club as well. It does seem to be a little bit of a storyline that I could definitely get behind. And hopefully he does score, because if he does score, it means our record from corners and set pieces is improving slightly. And obviously, it's not really saying anything that, we if we do improve our record, because in the end of the day, we are shocking from those situations. So listen, in the end of the day, it is what it is, and I hope we get the win. And as I said, it's a must-win game for me. We have to win this game, because if we don't, I feel like top four is officially gone. I think, as of right now, anything can happen, and as we've seen previously in Premier League run-ins, weird things can happen. Leicester, for example, the team we're playing, they have been in a position where 4 or 5 games to go, probably even less, they've had that 4th spot. And so you never know what can happen. You really never know. But we have to focus on ourselves, focus on our own lane and say we're not going to get distracted by what anyone else is doing games. And ultimately, if people drop points, that's great. Obviously, that's going to help us. But the one thing you can't do is take your eye off the ball, take your eye off your own task at hand, because that's when you start faltering, and that's when the pressure comes on as well. You've just got to do the job. And we've got some favourable games. I mean, I've got to say that our run into the end of the season, there's a few difficult ones in there. Obviously, we play Leicester, then Everton, then Norwich, and I think those are 3 games which you would expect 9 points out of if you're looking at the form table. If you're looking at on paper, probably you'd say 3 points out of those games. But then having to play Liverpool and then Arsenal in kind of consecutive games is I think it's actually in the same week as well. We play Liverpool on the 19th and Arsenal on the 23rd. So, essentially play those 2 sides in the same week, both away from home. That will probably be the deciding week in April. The week just after Easter, I think. So that will probably be the most decisive week in the season for us. And I don't see it going well for us, to be honest with you. I don't see any evidence to suggest that we're going to get 6 points out of those 2 games. Hopefully we beat Liverpool as well, because that'll derail our title hopes. And the last thing we need is for Liverpool to win the title and for us to miss out on top 4. That really is the last thing that we need. But it's looking ominous, ladies and gentlemen. It's looking ominous, I've got to say. In terms of Manchester United, we're currently sitting on 50 points in 6th position, as I said at the top of the show. And as I said, since I've been away, we haven't really had much luck. And when I say much luck, it means the players haven't been creating any luck. I think the last video I did was West Ham in the FA Cup, I believe, was it? I think it was, or Aston Villa in the FA Cup. So yeah, I think the 10th of January was the last video I did on this channel. And so you look at it, you look at the results since then. We drew 2-2 with Aston Villa. We beat Brentford 3-1. We then beat West Ham 1-0. We obviously went out in the FA Cup, drew with Burnley, drew with Southampton, beat Brighton, beat Leeds, drew with Atletico, drew to Watford, and then lost to Man City, beat Tottenham, and then obviously went out to Atletico Madrid. So realistically, it's not looking good. I'm going to be honest. Since I've been away, there's been absolutely nothing to shout about for Manchester United. So hopefully, now I'm back talking to you guys, the results will start picking up. Because at the end of the day, they need to. Drastically need to. Let's see, a few comments coming in. Owen saying, I have a funny feeling we beat the Scousers, no idea why. I agree with you. I have no idea why you're thinking that. I have absolutely no idea. Not a clue. Not a clue why you think we do that. I mean, Liverpool are far and away the best team. I say far and away, they're definitely the best team in the league right now, in my opinion. And I hate saying that. I'm not saying that as as a good thing. I'm saying that just as facts. You've got to sit back and say they're a very, very good team. But I don't see how, with the way we play, how we do anything against Liverpool, especially at Anfield when they're going for a title. It's gonna be an absolute bloodbath. I really do think it's gonna be a bloodbath in that game. Lewis, thanks for joining, Lewis, mate. Appreciate it. Lewis Robson, appreciate you joining. He says, Poch or Ten Hag, Mr. Coyle? It's a good question. It's a good question, Lewis. I think for me, I personally would go with Ten Hag. I think Pochettino obviously has that Premier League experience, and that's something which goes in his favour. But realistically, from my perspective, I'm looking at Ten Hag and I'm looking at what a lot of these experts have to say, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not an expert. I'm really not one of those guys that knows a lot about football tactics and can tell you what Ten Hag fully brings to the table. I'm not one of those guys. But when I have looked and researched into Ten Hag and listened to those that know, he sounds very, very good, and he sounds like the kind of guy that we need. He's a different sort of manager to a Pochettino or the managers that we tried before. And also, I feel like with Pochettino, he does seem like the kind of guy that will be, walking down the tunnel, sad sap at Old Trafford, similar to what we've seen before with Mourinho. I just don't see Pochettino as the guy that's going to take us back. I just feel like his pedigree has gone down since his move to PSG. I think the fact that they are struggling a little bit. I think I saw a stat which said they've only beaten one team outside the top or inside the top 10 away from home in the league, in the French league. And obviously their Champions League exit hasn't helped his cause. So I think the fact that he's struggling with the players he's got really doesn't fill me with any confidence, if you know what I mean. So I'm going Ten Hag right now, although as I said, I'm not exactly someone who, I'm not someone in the know, you know what I mean? I'm not someone who has done loads and loads of research into both candidates. I'm just kind of going off what I've seen. So that's my honest answer. But I just want to see someone that can bring fresh ideas, someone that can get the best out of this team, because I think the major problem with Manchester United at the moment is the talent on the pitch. I think some of the talent we have is way overhyped and realistically just not good enough. And I think that's something which you could bring in the best manager in world football. They're not going to be able to deal with the fact that you've got bad players. You're only as good as the players you got in the end of the day. So for me, I think there's some players that are passengers, some players just aren't good enough. And I think we also don't have the we don't have anyone that can deal with the egos. I think the egos is a massive thing. I thought the fact that Ronaldo's come in and he obviously has a very big ego himself. He's someone who wants to be a leader. But how many leaders can you have? Can you have too many leaders? I don't know, but I just feel like you look at the managers we've had before, and they've always had some sort of drama with some players, and it's frustrating to see. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'd say, had the most harmonious squad. I think he was the one that was able to have the most harmonious squad. I think Mourinho, obviously, you're never going to get that with Mourinho. So I think realistically, for me, the person on that list out of those two that is going to give us the best chance of winning is probably Ten Hag, in my opinion. But as I said, I'm not an expert. I'm no expert. Just had your dinner. Yes, I have just had my dinner, actually, mate. A lovely chicken tikka. You can't beat it. He also says, I'd say Ten Hag, mate, but I'll have either as long as they're actually backed. I think that's a good point. That is a good point. As I said, first time for everything. A good point from Owen. But yeah, I'm sure, if they are backed, and in some ways you could argue that our previous managers have been backed. You look at the spend that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had, 8 million on Maguire, the money he spent on Sancho and Varane. These are players that a lot of people wanted at the club, and the club can say, we did deliver these players. And I think there are definitely glaring positions where we need players. I think I think we need a proper number 9. I think Ronaldo's good. Listen, I'm not saying Ronaldo's a bad player, but Cavani's injured. Obviously, Rashford's just not up to it. Greenwood, all that stuff's gone on. Martial, obviously, he's past it. I don't think he's ever going to get back to the levels we've seen. So we need a proper number 9, and I feel like we still need a good centre back partnership. I think that's the biggest thing. And unfortunately for Harry Maguire, and I know he's the buzzword right now, a lot of people are talking about the booing situation. But I think realistically with Maguire, we're looking at someone who isn't really good enough for Manchester United. I'm not saying he couldn't become good enough. I mean, I think he has played well for us at times, but I just overall don't think he's the right guy to be in a centre-back partnership to bring us titles. And I mean, maybe it's not only his fault, and I'm not saying it is only his fault, but certainly as of late, he's just not the right guy. He really, really isn't. Let's see. Owen says Leicester will score, but I reckon we might nick it 2-1. Yeah, we're going to get into score predictions, guys, to be honest, because I feel like I've been rambling for quite a long time. So if you've got any score predictions, please do let me know in the live chat, and we'll just kind of shoot the shit for the last 5 minutes if you've got any questions or anything like that. I mean, I knew it was going to be a bit of a slow stream just because, obviously, as I said, I've been away for 2 or 3 months, so I knew it was going to be a bit of a slow stream tonight, but appreciate everyone who has tuned in, and if you are new around here, feel free to hit that like button or subscribe to the channel as well if you are new and do enjoy the content. So yeah, Owen goes with 2-1. And as I said, at this point of the season, as I've said, pretty well every season covering Manchester United at this point in the season, the result is all that matters. You know, the performance is not what matters at this point. The 3 points is all that matters. And Arsenal having a game in hand over us and being 4 points clear, all we can do is get the 3 points and focus on ourselves. That's all we can do. Luca, thanks for joining, Luca. Appreciate it. Big up to you, mate. Big up to you. Make sure to check out This Is Luca's Life as well. Good stuff over there if you haven't already. And Ricky saying, if Ten Hag joins us, Maguire has to be sold or he'll be exploited for his lack of pace. Perhaps this is why the board want Poch. Yeah, I think maybe they want to, bring in Poch to save a bit of money. I know, obviously, that we've been courting Pochettino for a long time. I think when Mourinho was sacked, everyone was, touting Pochettino to be the next Manchester United manager, and obviously he ended up going to PSG in the end. So maybe the Glazers have seen Pochettino as a bit of a long-term candidate for the job, and maybe that gives him a lot better chance of becoming the manager because, he's already kind of said that he'll basically do what the Glazers want, be the Glazers' bitch, essentially. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, the Glazers will want to bring in someone that's going to be a bit of a yes man, and Ten Hag, to be fair, of what I've seen, isn't the type of guy to be that yes man. So you're right, Ricky. It could play into, those factors could play into the decision made. But the papers have reported anyway that both candidates have been interviewed for the job. So, we'll see what happens. But obviously Rangnick's here, and we've got to back Rangnick to the end of the season. He will obviously get the director of football role at the club as well, which to me can only be a good thing because I think that's where he fully excels. As a manager, he's been all right, but I think realistically we've seen how he can, how he can change the culture of a club in a director's role, in that sort of role. I think that's where he's going to shine. That's where he's going to make the biggest impact. But as a manager, he's been up and down. I have to say he's been up and down. But maybe in the future, maybe he'll go to another club after his stint with us. Maybe he'll just stay with us. Who knows? So yeah. But I'm going to give you my score prediction. I'm going to go with 1-0 Manchester United. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. At Old Trafford this season, we've been shocking in front of goal, I've got to say. And I'm sure everyone here would agree. We can't score in a bad house. We can't hit a barn door with a banjo. So we are going to win this game by a goal. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be very, very scrappy. I think we're going to be trying to break down Leicester. I think Leicester are going to look to come and play on the counter-attack. And probably that is their best chance of winning. I think if they do come at us, they will leave space in behind, and that's something that we'll look to exploit. So I think Leicester's best chance is to play on the counter-attack because we struggle to break down teams. So I'm going to go 1-0. Obviously, it means we're going to keep a clean sheet, which again is something that's quite few and far between for us. But I just feel like 1-0 will just about squeeze past it. I actually quite like the Maguire to score shout. I don't know why, I quite like it, but I'm going to go with Ronaldo. Obviously, here's Portugal, got past North Macedonia to get into the World Cup as well. Probably his last World Cup. I can't believe it's Qatar as well. Still can't believe that actually happened. But money makes the world go round. That's all I'm going to say. Lewis says, would you want Pogba to stay or go? Again, it's a good question. I feel like this question is something which United fans have been pondering for probably 2 or 3 seasons now, to be honest. But for me, I think it's probably time for him to be moved on in the summer. Especially this season, I feel like we haven't seen the best of Paul Pogba. In previous seasons, I think the hassle that he's brought to the club has been outweighed by the good performances that he's done. But this season, I don't think we've really seen enough of those good performances to justify the problems that, you know, him and his agent have caused. And I'm not going to say it's mostly him. I'm going to say, obviously, Mino Raiola, his agent, had a massive part to play in it. But I just feel like with the wages he's on, I just don't know if he's ever going to become the player that we want him to be, and we know he can be. And I think he probably wants to go to PSG as well. I think, or any other club. I think PSG for me is where he's going to end up. But you know, we've seen a lot of quotes in the press saying that, you know, he might want a new challenge and things like that. I just feel like it's the right time for him to move on. And I think for me, you know, he obviously won a couple trophies. He's put in some brilliant displays. I still remember when we came back from 2-0 down at the Etihad when he scored those 2 goals and completely flipped the game on his head. And he is a quality footballer. You know, he is a quality footballer. But for me, I just feel like it's time for us to move on. And I think it'll be best for both parties if he does move on. And as I said, he is a good player, and I'm sure that wherever he goes, you know, he'll play really, really well. And I'm sure people are going to be saying, oh, why did we sell him? You know, this, that. But for me, I think it'll be the best thing for both parties if we do let him go. Cash in right now, because I feel like if we keep him for too long and he doesn't really pick up his performances, the amount of money we can get for him is going to be significantly less. So I think if we were to sell him right now, I think we could probably get 70, 80 million for him. Maybe even more potentially because of his commercial value, obviously. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think Pogba probably at the end of the season, it'd be better for him, better if he moved on. Maybe with a new manager coming in, he could be a better player, who knows. But for me, I just think that Pogba, I don't know if his heart's really in the Man United project anymore. And once your heart's not in it, there's no point in staying, in my opinion. Ricky says, Poch worked under Levy for 5 years. He's used to being a yes man. Very true. Very good point, Ricky. I've got to say, it's a good point. He's also very used to working on a shoestring budget, something which obviously, again, will be music to the Glazers' ears. So maybe that is one of the big draws with bringing Pochettino in. Maybe it is a complete big brain strategy play from the Glazers to bring him in, because they know if Ten Hag comes in, he's not going to be afraid to have his say and give his 2 pence worth and criticise him if need be and not be happy. So it's a good point. It's a good point, Ricky, I think you made. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it there. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. As I said, I do apologise for the lack of streams in the last few months. It has been a very busy time at university, and it will continue to be a very busy time as we head towards the end, hopefully where I graduate and pass everything. But before we do leave, please do hit that like button if you haven't already. If you're watching as a video, I really appreciate you getting to this point in the video. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy the content. But until next time, until probably after the Leicester game actually, where I'll give my thoughts, hopefully on 3 points for Manchester United. Thanks for watching, I really do appreciate it, and hopefully you have a good rest of your week. Till then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit.